Good morning, afternoon, evening, or anywhere in between for you at All Things Hadar. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you guys are here. For those of you who are new, we're so thrilled that you have either come across us or have searched us out and you've decided to join us. If you would like to know how I read, you can find that information in the description box below because I am an intuitive reader versus memorized meaning reader. Yes. So, and for those of you who are returning, thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you. And for everyone, as always, only take what resonates, leave the rest. And yeah, I think that's it. We are going to get going in. We're just going to jump in and begin. As you guys know, unless I'm guided to do otherwise, I typically just do an open read to allow whatever messages that God, Source, Spirit, Universe, I say Utmost High, wants to bring forward. I find that interesting, the way that one spun out like that. Did you see that? So we have truth and justice. And I feel like we're getting messages with a feather in the hand there. And I didn't realize there was one behind it. Solar plexus chakra. So this is about standing in your power, taking your power back. There's some sort of a truth or a justice that's at play here. And that it holds the potential to bring back your power for those of you who have felt disempowered or anywhere where you have given away your power. Without judgment there. That is without judgment. Because, you know, we've all been there. We've all done that. And, you know, life is life and none of us are perfect. We have fear, ego, and drama with the barbed wire. Now, I feel like it's interesting sometimes how messages come out. Like I didn't even get to do much here. But it feels like that... It feels like, okay, so if this doesn't resonate with you or doesn't apply to you, then you know, don't worry about it. But I feel like for some of you, there is, or there has been, or, you know, something along those lines, depending on where you are in your journey here. Reasons to have that barbedness, right? To keep others away or to protect yourself. Because something needed to have very, very, very defined boundary lines. This isn't going to happen anymore, which is taking back your power. Okay. And it feels like whatever this was for you, and it could have been a few multiple things because there's 3 barbed wires here. One main one, another one that is not as predominant, but definitely here in you know, not far behind. And then we have this one here that is, you know, maybe not in the foreground is what I heard. Okay, so it's almost like it's a 2-part thing here. There was a reason, and it was important for you to have this very defined, you know, no trespassing, you know, get out, stay out, because this just, no, I'm protecting myself kind of vibe and energy. It feels like, though, that even once this truth and justice happens and things come forward and things get worked out, and even where you are working on taking back your power, right, that due to the trauma, the fear, the drama from these experiences, that the ego is here now, almost like now it's getting in the way. Whereas before it was important to have this, have this kind of definedness. Now, or once this takes place, and the power is coming back to within, right? To be self-empowered again, taking back control of your power. It's almost like now there's this difficulty in letting go of this barbed wiredness, this there's having boundaries is healthy, correct? I mean, having boundaries is healthy, but it's almost like they can get to the point that they're so stern, so inflexible, so whatever, that it ends up keeping away things that are actually aligned and harmonious for us. And it's because we still are holding on to the trauma, the drama, the fear, the whatever else that got played into that brought all this about. And again, I feel like it's really, really important not to be looking at the self in judgment. Because it's, you know, it served its purpose, bottom line. It served its purpose, but then there's times, it's time now to release that and begin to move forward again. It's time to release that and begin to move forward. I'm sorry, I think I moved that up a little too high. All right. Okay. Let's see, where are we going from here? All right. For those of you who already know, you know this drill. For those of you who are new, I do live in a house full of animals, and we have some construction taking place around the area, so I apologize if there's a sudden outburst of barking. All right, so let's get a little more on this truth and justice, please. Let's get a little more on this truth and justice, please. Thank you. Thank you. King of Swords. All right, so King of Swords. This is no nonsense. This is also somebody who is very logical. They're very intellectual, intelligent, smart. And it, you know, it like totally makes sense, right? Because, you know, this is somebody who's going to be like, no, this is how it is. Boom. Here's the decision. Here's the choice. This is justice taking place, right? To me, swords, along with, you know, swift action, intellect, and all that kind of stuff, to me, just the swords, the suit of swords, always makes me feel this sense of truth, justice, and honor. All right, let's look at the solar plexus. Thank you. Yeah, Seven of Cups. So, Seven of Cups, there's been a lot of confusion. And I'm hearing inner confusion, almost like blurred lines. Blurred lines in the sense of maybe you've been living in this energy over here of the barbed wire for so long that it's kind of hard to discern now where you can let down your guard somewhat, still having healthy boundaries that are balanced, of course, but letting down your guard. And it's almost like the blurred lines. There's confusion now I don't seem to know when or where to have this very defined boundary line of who or what I will allow in and who or what I'm going to, you know, clear out. And it and I would say, you know, that's normal. You know, be gentle with yourself. Be supportive of yourself, because it takes a while to relearn. And that really is what it is when we have gone through something. It's about relearning. It's just like when we hear, you know, we need to reparent ourselves. Now we need to relearn for ourselves the things that we have been through in releasing the trauma, the drama, and the fear, and all of that other stuff, right? It's learning, okay, what is my new norm, right? What does this look like? Because I'm confused now. I'm confused about what is aligned and harmonious with myself and what is not. And it takes practice. And I would say if it's something that you need, you know, help and support with, then seek out that help and support, wherever that comes from. You know, for you have to do the work to find out, you know, what is it that you're wanting to, or what modality it is that you're wanting to utilize to work through this process. I hope that makes sense. All right, let's get a little more on this fear, ego, and drama. All right. For those of you who are into numerology, of course, we have 42, 36, and 11, and the 7. The Emperor. Which again, to me, you see a lot of the yellow, right? The yellow, the red. This to me feels very grounded, very fiery and grounded. And it's kind of like I'm getting this twofold thing here. It's almost like, for some of you, it was almost like a tyrant type of situation. Someone, something, some event, some situation, some environment, whatever that is for you, had this very imbalanced, unhealthy emperor energy happening there. And for others of you, or possibly both scenarios can apply for you. Again, this is about taking the power back, finding the self, doing the work to work through your, whatever it is that you're needing to do to help yourself figure out. Sorry, my cat is again joining in the reading. Doing whatever it is you know that is going to help you to do your sorting is what I'm hearing. Learning to sort through what there is to let go of, what there is that is yours that to be worked through to come to a state of balance in, and what isn't yours that you've been carrying. I really feel like the key is guidance and support. And again, however that looks for you and however that speaks to you, that's up to you to discern here. But again, we have, and it's kitty corner here. So I really do feel that there is a wonderful potential to take back your power. It's just going to take some sorting. That's all. It's just going to take some sorting. And I feel like it's really important to, again, not to be doing this from a place of pointing the finger at yourself, basically, or at anybody else. It's not about blame. It's about, help me to understand, how did I get here? And I will say, just to give you a heads up, I will say there are times when, we can start out with a journey about what we think is this, and we end up finding out maybe it had nothing to do with that at all. It could have to do with this, or both, or more or less. You know what I'm saying? We can find out that, yes, I have to relearn this and that for myself. I may also have to do some reparenting. I may have some archetypes that I need to let go of, and I may have some archetypes that I need to bring in. And speaking of which, they're having me pull out these 2 decks, the African Goddess Rising deck and the Carolyn Mess archetype cards. Well, she just fell right out. Okay. The message here on this one is naked. I don't know how to pronounce these correctly, so I'm very sorry if I'm mangling the name, but it's I got Mami Wada, Mami, M-A-M-I, and then W-A-T-A. And the word is naked, and it is the number 30. And I feel like this is just, again, it's going within. It's time to do that soul searching. It's time to be totally honest within yourself, to be vulnerable with yourself first and foremost. And I realize that may sound odd. What do you mean be vulnerable with myself? Well, because we put up a lot of walls, and especially when it's things that we don't want to look at, or we don't want to admit about ourselves, then, we can be in denial. We can refuse to look at. And again, that's your choice, free will, free choice. It's all up to you what you do or don't do. But this is saying, you know, part of getting your power back and sorting through all of the confusion is being totally honest and vulnerable with yourself, being fully naked. And I find it really interesting how these folded out. Do you see what those say on there? We have self-sabotage. So I would say that that is, you know, can be something maybe for some of you that is playing a role in this, in the I'm hearing delayed, in the delayed healing process. And there's self-forgiveness was the middle cut. You know, we all make choices. We all make choices. We all make decisions. We all have light and dark within. We all have positive and negative. You know what I'm saying? We all have masculine and feminine. It really is about finding that middle ground, that balance within the self. Okay? And then as I went to show up this last one, this one came out, which I'll show you in just a second. And then we have this divine lineage. Divine lineage. So I would say this is, I just heard the word profound. Doing this journey, if you so choose to take this journey, I feel like there can be quite a profound self-discovery, quite a profound shift in your perception of your existence and your role of what that looks like in a wonderful, amazing way. So let's do this. And again, here we have truth. So, you know, we have truth and justice here, and now we have truth again. And you see she's doing self-reflection. She's doing self-reflection in this truth. All right. And then the one that I, on the bottom of the on the bottom of that, when I went to move this one then separated itself from the rest, and it's the wounded healer. The wounded healer. Okay. So, you know, I feel it is amazing to me. I mean, it just blows me away how amazing the messages are when they come through. It just, I love the unfolding. Anyway, sorry. All right. So solar plexus, getting back our power, sorting through the confusion, right? There's this need to be very vulnerable and naked with ourselves. And again, the naked number is 30, right? Oh my gosh, look at that. And masks. I didn't even realize I left that sitting on the table. So, and with this, I feel like there's, all right. So, all right, let me back up here. This is so interesting. Okay, so first of all, we on the naked card, right? There's an alligator over here coming toward her. And there's this snake that is all wrapped around her. And it's wrapped around one of her wrists, which I'll show you this in a moment. And her other hand, we can't even see it. You know, basically we can't even see her other arm. And again, I think that complements the what we were talking about here with the Seven of Cups, because this, you know, it's like being all with the confusion. It has you all caught up. Do you see her hand, her arms there? And her hand that's twisted up. It's like this feeling of being restricted. Like I can't move. I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. Right? So it just amazes me how beautifully these cards come out. It just amazes me. Okay. We do have the self-sabotage card. Which I find this interesting because it's like she's wrapped up in this, again, a snake. And yet it's almost like that snake is a part of her skin or something she wears, which makes sense. Oops, which makes sense when you look at the masks. It's like there's this self-sabotage, and there she is, but do you see how it almost looks like it's, you know, just like a dress or something, that there's the seams that it's sewn on, and there's all this baggage that is around there. And it really is like, it's like, why would you go into this in the dark, right? Because we see the moonlight. Why would you go out in the night, in the dark, jump into water that you know obviously is going to have a very large snake or being that lives in there? And then you go in there and you're volunteering to get yourself tangled up. And again, absolutely no judgment there. Because we've all done that. We've all been there. We've all done that. Some of us are doing that. Some of us, we will. And I would say most of us would have this periodically throughout our life. It's part of our journey. It's one of the ways in which we learn, by peeling back these layers, that we learn and figure out, oh, well, that's why that never worked. I didn't even realize that I was sabotaging myself when I did A, B, or C. You know, whatever that is. And I think, again, it's really important to hone in the whole, it's not about judging yourself or beating yourself up. It's what are the gems that I can learn from this, so that I can relearn a way to move, do, believe, think, whatever that is for you, in a way that is aligned for me, that is harmonious for me, that is the self-love, the self-support, the self-care, etc., etc. And for those of you, again, for numerology, the self-sabotage is number 24. And it would make sense that we have the masks that stayed on the table. And look at all those masks she has. And even now, she still has one that she's wearing. And it's almost like, you know, they say sometimes you'll hear someone say, oh, I'm such a chameleon. Or you'll hear people say, oh, well, that person, you know, they're such a chameleon. Meaning they adapt and adjust themselves to portray what they think whoever they're around wants to see. And a lot of times this is done unconsciously. Sometimes it's done consciously. And the problem is obviously we can lose track of who we really are. And then we have to, again, go through this relearning and learning to be naked, be vulnerable. This is who I truly am. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, be prepared that, you know, maybe there's going to be people that will fall away, relationships that will fall away, situations, events, environments, you know, places that may fall away, meaning they're just not going to be a good fit for you anymore. And you're going to feel that. And you're just going to decide, you know what, this just isn't working for me anymore. And again, it's not about blaming anyone or anything or yourself. It's just relearning and discovering who you are. Again, and then we have this self-forgiveness. Again, goes hand in hand with the non-judgment of the self. If we are judging ourselves, how are we going to be able to forgive ourselves? Much less be able to forgive others if there is a need for that. Hold on just a moment. I need to change or hit my heater here. Okay, thank you. Sorry. A little chilly. All right, and I think I forgot to say that for masks, the number is 18, and for self-forgiveness, or soul forgiveness, soul forgiveness, there's number 28. Excuse me. So for some of you, I kept saying self-forgiveness, so I do feel that self-forgiveness is going to be key for those of you who are working your way through this. For others of you, I'm sorry, I feel that's really important because I kept saying self. I would read soul, but I kept saying self. So I do feel like for some of you, or a good portion of you, self-forgiveness is going to be extremely important. Soul forgiveness, I feel, is for a smaller group of you. And I can, I'm willing to share here and be vulnerable here. I had to forgive my soul because I was so angry at my soul for choosing the life and the path and the journey that I agreed to experience. And it took me a while to get through this. Yeah, it was not easy. It was not easy. And again, just be gentle with yourself. Be very loving with yourself. And again, we see here in the truth card here, this is about your truth. What is your truth? Being naked and vulnerable with yourself. And I would say that there's even almost like, and for any of you who have been through or in abusive relationships, environments, etc., you'll be able to relate and understand this. We learn how to disconnect ourselves from ourselves. And if that is your situation, then obviously, you know, you do you to be safe, to do, you know, that I'm not talking about that. I'm not a professional in any of that, which of course is in my disclaimers in the description box. All I'm saying is, when you have learned how to, out of survival, you have learned how to disconnect from yourself. You have learned how to, of any of these, you know, or maybe multiple ones of these, disconnect your physical self from your emotions, from your spiritual self, from your soul self. Now, are you truly disconnected from your soul? No. But we can, again, put up this barbed wire and say, nope, I refuse, you know what I mean? And I know I was there. I'd been there, done that kind of thing. And it took a lot of self-reflection, a lot of looking at myself. How did I get here? And then, of course, I had to come back to the whole thing of, well, you know, you did agree to go through this. And that, you know, that is a whole thing all on its own. But again, I'm just saying, you know, it can be worked through. It can be worked through if that is your desire to shift and change. Soul forgiveness, we have number 28. Truth, we have number 34 on this one. Truth and justice, 42 on that one. And then we have divine lineage, which is the number 6. And again, I would say that there is something very spiritual that is available for you from this journey. And there's something, it's almost like being able to shift and change the ancestry. Do you know what I mean? Not change it, but heal it. Healing the ancestry. And then, of course, we have the wounded healer. I really, really love this deck. I just love this deck. I'm sorry. The cat is getting himself tangled in my cords trying to get back up here. All right. Okay. Oops. Oh, you know, for those of you who are interested, those cards that I started with are from this deck. I don't think I said that at the beginning. I do try to remember to share what decks I'm using, in case it's something that you would like to purchase for yourself to utilize. All right, let's get at another one and cut the deck. All right, what archetype are we being invited to let go of? What archetype are we being invited to let go of? Thank you. Can you get one more? What archetype? No, that's too many. I see. Okay, that makes sense. I understand. All right. This way, this way, this way. Okay, so first one out, we have the Mystic. Now, there is a light attribute to all of these in this deck, and there is a shadow attribute to all of these in this deck. Again, only take what resonates and leave the rest. This is a, take what resonates and leave the rest. So we have the Mystic, and this is what we're being invited to let go of. We have the Mystic, and in the shadow attribute, it is delusional rapport with the divine. Now, I'm going to say this, and so again, if this doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. I feel like that for some of you, it's like, what, then non-judgment here, okay? I feel like, again, I mean, think about this. If we're doing this self-reflection, if we have this confusion, if we've been wearing all of these masks, if we are unsure and confused about, who am I? If I take off all these masks, who am I? If I have all of this stuff I'm working through, maybe there's a lot of illusions that you hold about yourself. A lot of confusion, right? And I feel like it would make sense that would have a ripple effect for any kind of relationship we have. And that maybe we're going to discover a far more intimate union and relationship with the divine, again, whatever that is for you. By doing this work through ourselves, we also discover this beautiful new light attribute of being in alignment of a truly intimate relationship with the divine. Because we're removing the masks. We're clearing out all of the unforgiveness. We're clearing out the confusion. We're doing the work of this self-reflection. Okay? So you can read that for yourself. This is just something that I pulled that came out. So clearly this is a message for someone. And again, if that is not your message, then it's not your message. Next, we had child wound in the shadow attribute. Blames all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds. Resists moving on through forgiveness. And again, see, we talked about forgiveness. So I feel like there may be a role of either unforgiveness happening or simply, challenges in working through forgiveness, because forgiveness isn't always easy. And again, I have experience with that. It was like, are you kidding me? And yes, I understood the concept of forgiving someone doesn't mean that you condone what they did. It has nothing to do with that. This is about you not carrying the trauma, the drama, the hurt, the wounds, the pain, the burden anymore of holding on to that unforgiveness. Because energetically speaking, as well as in a lot of physical ways that we see play out in our health, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever you want to label there, having unforgiveness is a very heavy burden. It's a very heavy burden. So I do feel that, again, it's don't shoot the messenger here. I can only tell you the messages that I get. And so there you go. There's that one. Then next we have the mentor. The shadow attribute of the mentor is inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false instruction. Now, I feel like for some, this can be about having the masculine and feminine is in an imbalance here. For others, it can be simply about that within the self. not wanting to see the truth, not wanting to do the self-reflection because it's like, I don't want to know that. No, I refuse to believe yada, 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 whatever that is for you. Sometimes too, and again, don't shoot the messenger. I can only share what I'm getting here. Imparting false instruction. We can sit because we're in self-sabotage, because we're wearing masks, because we're not willing to be vulnerable, because we are living out in this auto response, if you will, of, you know, the ego is going to say, no, 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 don't go there. Don't be genuine. Don't be this. Don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. Because when you do that, this is what happens. And again, it's like there's that, which there's a whole lot of stuff there to unpack. But the bottom line is it can be an auto response of, well, this isn't about me. This person's saying a bunch of garbage and they're not real and blah, blah, blah. And they're just trying to mislead me and yada, yada, yada. That might be true. But it can also be about self-sabotage. Wait a minute, I'm getting too close. That means I'm going to have to look at myself. Oh my gosh, no. And almost like this, I have to make it about somebody else because I have to make it true that it's about somebody else. Because if I do that, I'm protecting myself. The amygdala and the ego, boom, right, can so keep us going in these non-serving patterns. And, you know, I mean, again, that's part of being human. It's learning how to work our way through those things, right? And then the last one that we had come out in the shadow attribute is the student, and it's arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge, an unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. And I feel like it's more of the latter than it is the former, meaning I feel it's more about the unwillingness to transfer knowledge into action. It can also be about this arrogance because again, it's almost like, but I don't feel like it's arrogance. I feel it's again, more of the amygdala, that ego component that's saying, no, 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 don't go do that. Because if you do that, right? And because its job is to keep us safe. But again, if our lens, our perspective, if how that ego and that amygdala has been trained, has been in this, you know, and again, it doesn't even have to be abuse. It can just be whatever it is that you've been going through. And it's created this confusion, these illusions of the self, this disconnect, this, you know, not knowing of the self kind of thing. And it can have us following that, you know, that pursuit of destructive knowledge, which can simply be that can be something dramatic, but it can also be simply, it can also be that, well, no, these masks, this is my truth. Well, that can be considered destructive knowledge, right? Because it's based on illusions and untruths. I hope that makes sense. All right, and then let's look at what archetypes are we being invited to step into. What archetypes are we being invited to step into? What archetypes are we being invited to step into? Thank you. Can we get one more, please? Thank you. I was just noticing here on this one, the bottom of the deck is gossip, and the light attribute is awakens consideration for the feelings of others and honoring trust. Honoring trust. Oh, okay. See, I see. Again, I was like, why is that sticking out to me? There is, you know, the light attribute of this, right? Awakening consideration of the feelings of others, right? Again, we can consider how somebody feels and then move accordingly, in the sense of we can still have healthy boundaries. We can still set boundaries, follow those, and honor those boundaries. We don't violate our own boundaries, and we don't allow others to violate our boundaries. We can also honor somebody else's boundaries when aligned, right? Meaning, if we realize, okay, this isn't going to happen because this is my boundary and this just isn't aligned anymore, right? We can communicate that, right? And doing so from a space of, I call it receptive communication, right? Doing it in a way, even if they don't like what they hear, even if they don't want to hear what we have to say, even if they, you know, knee-jerk reaction is to fight and argue and, you know, deny and blah, blah, blah. That's not about you. That's their deal. But it is about communicating in a way that is respectful, diplomatic, tactful, while still honoring yourself with truth. I hope that makes sense. All right. The first one out is, and again, these are archetypes we're being invited to step into in the light. We have the rescuer, and the light attribute is, oh, I don't think I showed you this one. Okay. And I think that this is, the imagery looks more of what would be in the shadow, but I mean, again, learning new things, growing, expanding, educating ourselves, becoming more stable in our understanding of who we are as an individual, right, does awaken a consideration of other people's feelings. And by that I mean simply, I mean, there was someone that was in my life that was extremely, extremely toxic. And I went through a lot. But at the same time, it was through my own healing journey of learning to understand myself that opened my eyes to learning from a psychological standpoint of what that person was exposed to and went through throughout their life. And I can see how that set them up for certain things. Doesn't excuse it by any means, because again, we all have free will, free choice. We can let something shape us and into something that is imbalanced, or something that's balanced, and it's usually a journey. Again, it's not one situation, one thing, one this, one that. But it was through that understanding, that learning and that understanding, that helped me in my forgiveness process. Now, I will say, intelligence and learning of a new understanding intellectually is not forgiveness, but it opens up the door, anyways it did for me, to allow for forgiveness. Still don't condone it. Still don't, you know, this person was old enough to, and knew, you know, was consciously aware of all the different things that were wrong, not just towards me, but just wrong, period, overall, in a variety of ways you want to look at that, right? And I had to learn that that wasn't about me. That was their journey. That was about them. This is my boundary. This is my line, right? And I can communicate that in a way that is honoring of myself and receptive communication. Did I do that at that time? No. You know, no. But I did learn a lot from that experience. And am I always on target with learning to communicate in a receptive way? Again, no. Do I try? Yes. Do I try to be aware of it? Yes. You know, we do what we can do. Rescuer is the next one. And in the light attribute, we have provide strength and support to others in crisis. Acts out of love with no expectation of reward. This is important when it comes to the boundaries, because it is so easy to fall over into the shadow part, which is assumes that the rescued will reciprocate, for one, and keeps the rescued one needy, for two. And I would always say that this, and I would always, not always, I would also say that when we're in the shadow attribute of this, it has us picking up things and taking on as our own things that aren't ours. From blame, from guilt, from burdens, responsibilities. I mean, the list is immense and long. So focusing on being in the light attribute of this, but in a healthy, balanced way, right? We can do something out of an act of love with no expectation of reward. And again, I look at this whole, you know, learning to communicate in receptive ways. Whether they receive it or not is up to them. But I feel like, you know, you can go to someone and say, hey, you know, I'm thinking this, that, or the other, and this is just not working for me. And, you know, you're being respectful and all of that. You know, going in there with this expectation that this person is going to go, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I blah, 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 you know. Probably not a realistic expectation to have. And then, yeah, it's just a whole thing. So, you know, looking at going in, and if you're going to do something, doing it for the balance and the harmony and the alignment of it, without the expectation that this person is going to automatically reciprocate and do the same thing. Everybody's in a different place in their journey. Next, we have the artist. And this is turning into a really long reading. So if you don't like long readings, I'm sorry about that. But I have to go until the energies are done. Next, we have artist. And we have the light attributes, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses. Inspiring others to see life symbolically. Now, I feel like for some of you that maybe, and it doesn't have to be painting like what we see here, I feel like helping yourself through this process, having some way to, as an outlet, some sort of a way to release what you're letting go of, you know, drawing, painting, needlepoint. And I know that sounds so old-fashioned. I don't even know if you can buy needlepoint kits anymore. I don't know why that came to me, because I don't do it. I've never even thought of it. But, you know, whether it's a craft or whether it's an outdoorsy thing or whatever it is that makes your boat float, that makes you feel happy, that lets you express what you're processing, lets you express what you want to bring in, find that, whatever that, and if you don't know what that is, the way to find that is just by experimenting and seeing what speaks to you, what makes your soul sing. And if you don't know what makes your soul sing, it's time to start experimenting or being open to experimenting and seeing if there is something that speaks to you that just makes your soul sing. Then we have Queen, light attribute, radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. And I would say this is, you know, and it brings me back to this one too with, you know, provide strength and support to others in crisis and acts out of love with no expectation of reward. But the two of these really makes me think about doing this for yourself first. Thinking about that, you know, that life jacket, thinking about the oxygen mask that drops down when you're in a plane and there's some sort of an issue, right? If you run around trying to do everybody else, you're not going to get very far before you run out of oxygen, right? If you run around trying to get everybody else's life jackets on them when you're all already in the water and you're running around grabbing them out of the water and putting them on, but you haven't done it for yourself, right? You're going to run out of oxygen, you're going to run out of energy, and then you're going to end up passing because of that, versus if you put on your own and you get yourself healthy first, you get yourself balanced and aligned first, you get the oxygen into yourself, you get that safety ring onto yourself first, you now have the potential to help more from a much healthier, more balanced and aligned space. Are you going to be perfect? No, none of us are. But again, think about that rippling effect, right? Do you want to be putting out healthy rippling effects, or do you want to be putting out, you know, the challenges and the things that you're dealing with? I mean, really, that comes down to the bottom line. Anyway, guys, I hope this helps. I hope you see and you feel from this that you're not alone, that you're not the only one who has gone through these things, and you aren't going to be the last. You aren't the first. You know, it's a part of our process. It's a part of the journey. And be gentle with yourself. Take care of yourself. And as always, make sure you stay hydrated and nurture and support yourself to the best of your abilities. If you need support and help, then find whatever that looks like for you. And don't forget your outlets to release. Okay? Anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. And we have the invite of things, what to let go and what to bring in as steps, as well as ways to help yourself in this journey. So, until next time, guys, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share if you know anyone who could benefit from this message, and expand our channel, because the more we can help our collective, the more we can help the world. Okay, until next time, guys. Bye.